Albert Einstein once said if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What was your moment when someone judged you like that? I was always told how bad sleeping in class was despite acing my classes, and teachers would complain to my parents about how much I slept. I felt so horrible for so long and slept early almost every day to no avail. Turns out I have narcolepsy. Maybe for some it won't be a situation like the Einstein quote, but I felt like a fish trying to climb a tree. A few months ago I got the chance for an interview for an okay job. I finished all tests with almost 100% and finished the first 2 interviews quite good, and when I got to the last one they started asking me questions that had nothing to do with my profession. I was completely silent because it has nothing to do with what I studied. I think that I even looked like a fish gasping for water. After they started to make fun of me, I just walked out. When I went to a state university, they opened the freshman orientation with that quote, then said that they want to help build students' curriculum to their needs and what works with them. And then we were given very specific classes that we needed to take, several of which the professors said were weed out classes. They proceeded to judge every fish on its ability to climb. Me judging another guy. I served with this guy who we all believe was a complete idiot. Just everything he said and did was idiotic. While we were in Thailand, he spent an hour talking to a Thai Marine. I will be damned if he didn't learn enough of the language to take a taxi around a city. I firmly believe he would have become fluent if we left him there for a week. I am a giant. Everything I own is XXL, or 3XL. I was Air Force, and of course all my gear, helmet, armor, etc., is also larger than most. When we would deploy, we had a 2-bag plus backpack rule. I am a Tetris master, but even I can only squeeze 6 pounds sugar in a 5 pounds bag, but I needed 10 pounds in there. Getting in trouble for leaving useless shit behind, but having a bag drag where they account for all necessities, like a fucking comb and shampoo, when I have shaved my head bald since I was 20, is ridiculous. At some point halfway through my elementary school years, 3rd or 4th grade-ish, we got a new principal who decided to switch my school to a super STEM-focused curriculum. I am much more creative and artistic, and my standing in the advanced learning program was predicated on my writing, drawing, and musical capabilities. After the switch, I was kicked out of the ALP because I really struggle with mathematics and could barely do division and multiplication, and the new qualifying exam was almost solely algebraic functions and such. It caused a huge blow to my self-esteem and confidence that I still struggle with 2 decades later. When I was 7, I was in 1st grade. I couldn't really run because it turned out that I had both legs wrong. I had my Achilles tendon too short, my kneecaps were outside its place, and my femur was slightly, 28 degrees rotated, and I had knock knees. No one knew about this, only me, who was suffering every 4 steps lol. Anyway. Everyone told me I was lazy, that I should go outside and do some sport. I was a fatty because I couldn't even run. My husband loved to read as a child despite his mild dyslexia, but in 2nd grade he started to really struggle with school. After being held back for a year and being told by a teacher that he was a slow kid, another teacher took note of the oddity of my husband's change of learning. He suggested to his mom to have his eyes checked. Turns out my hubby is blind as a bat and needed glasses. Sadly, he never recovered his love of reading. I currently work at my local McDonald's. I'm 16, and since I live in Quebec, it's a French establishment. French is my 3rd language, but I'm still constantly treated like I'm stupid when I don't completely understand. The worst part is, I'm very eloquent in my 1st and 2nd language, Bulgarian and English. Public speaking and writing are my passions. But nobody at work thinks I could possibly be intelligent because I'm being judged on my fluency in my 3rd language. Never mind the fact that speaking 3 languages when you're in high school is more than any of them can do. Shit is frustrating. I'm a chemistry major at university here in the US, I took a few extra years to get started, and spread the courses out over about 6 years rather than 4. I'm 26 now, but fellow students always assume I'm the idiot of the group project. They're mostly right, they're all better at chemistry. But I'll work on the projects till 2 AM if it means I learn the material and can sleep knowing I did my part. Also, I'm a bartender, and most of these guys act like they've never interacted with people socially, let alone step foot in a bar. I'm hopeful my social skills and work ethic will take me further than my degree. So I was a young lawyer, new to trial work, full of awkwardness and insecurity. A couple of times in my first months, I said things so stupid I thought I might get fired. My boss followed me at the elbow to my first trial and he was nervous for me, giving me advice on dozens of things I hadn't asked about and that I suspected were irrelevant. He kept whispering instructions to me at the trial table, even as I was questioning witnesses, getting me confused about what I should be paying attention to, and even whispered instructions as the judge talked from the bench, and finally the judge, who knew my boss, said to him, "Tommy, you shut up and let the boy learn. He'll do fine." Late in the trial, the judge wasn't going to let me assert one argument I wanted to use, that the plaintiff's choice between differently priced goods should have put him on notice that the goods were of different quality. "That's not a rule of law," said the judge. "No," I said. "It's a rule of thumb. When you buy a car, you know why a Chevy and a Cadillac are priced differently. One is better and nicer than the other." The judge nodded and changed his mind. I could use my argument as I wanted. On the subway back to the office after I won the trial, my boss mentioned that moment and said it had proven I was a good hire. "If you make people think you're clumsy and in the back of your pocket you have the ability to change a mind that's been made up," he said, "you can do almost anything." That was about 25 years ago, and I haven't looked back. A while back I had a teacher that sucked. She was very broad while talking about things and I was very analytical. For example, she said the papers are on the counter. We had multiple counters, so I asked which one. She accused me of having attention issues. I'm now 2 grades ahead in math. The hardest class to pay attention in. Checkmate, Mrs. Dick. Note, that isn't her real name obviously, but it fits her well. When I worked on farms I was a simple farmhand. No one thought much of me because I was the bottom of the totem pole, and one day a sheep was having trouble giving birth to her babies. No matter which way the vet and my boss turned her or helped her, she couldn't give birth. However, the night before I watched a program on the TV where a woman had the exact same issue during her labor and they stood her up and she gave birth easily. So I helped the sheep to get as vertical as possible and the birth just happened in a snap and it was easy for her. No one questioned me after that and I was seen as the smartest of the farm hands. Went through a 2-year community college biomed program. Had only 3 or 4 different teachers throughout the 2 years and we had a small class. Had one teacher that told me on multiple occasions that I wasn't a good fit for this program. He had 25+ years working in biomed and at least 10 years of teaching it. Really had me second-guessing my life. Admittedly I was horrible at all the homework, but did decent on the hands-on parts of class. The last semester an internship was required. The teacher that didn't like me found internship placements for all my classmates and told me since I wasn't a good student that I should try find my own at some sort of basic electronic repair store. Just to spite him I went into the same hospital that all my other classmates were given internships at and interviewed for an internship. At the end of the internship/semester I was the only one who was offered a position. Suck it. I was this super smart kid who would get 6s and 1F always in math. No one thought to test me for a learning disability the entire time. Turns out it wasn't that I wasn't applying myself, but it was dyscalculia. Forgave my parents, who were and are very apologetic, still pretty miffed that I probably went through 20+ math teachers, tutors, and even a tutoring place and no one thought a thing was weird about that. If your kid is teaching themselves Japanese, can read Middle English without a guide, and learns to fix an air conditioner on their own, but can't divide, there probably is an underlying issue. Skeptical. When I was 19 I got a job as a pizza delivery driver. I found out I have horrible spatial memory and could never remember the directions to any place I've been before. This was before GPS devices were widespread. My boss really thought I was stupid. He couldn't believe I was going to college and now I have a master's degree. I guess I'll never have that career as a pizza delivery driver. I still get lost going to places I've been before plenty of times and need to use my GPS for pretty much everywhere I go.